it's almost like the ultimate like depression fantasy to become a puddle of goo with everyone else.
So much more than fun in games at the Cartoon Cabal. Beyond what's just in the name at the Cartoon Cabal. See just at what cost comes fame at the Cartoon Cabal. So much more than fun in games at the Cartoon Cabal.
Hello, welcome to the Cartoon Cabal, where we have come to the end of Evangelion, which is not the end of Evangelion. That was the movie we covered in the last episode. This is the episode 26 that came out before that. This is also confusing, but we're here. We're talking about the finish of Evangelion.
No, you can't. The finish is actually Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 thrice upon a time, which I think was iterated upon and became 3.33 plus 1.11.
That's a headache for our future, but here we are on episode 26. Take care of yourself. There's Matt here. There's Paranoid American over there. Today, we're bringing in Mark, and I have to read what you wrote there. The CEO of Pile of Red Goo Incorporated.
Yeah, it told me to give my job title, so I'm just going to declare myself president of the Red Goo because everyone else is Red Goo.
How about Black Goo?
Yeah, I get Black Goo. Dibs.
It's different. Well, I think Black Goo is something different. That's like that would be interesting to see what the Red Goo does
when it meets the Black Goo.
Yeah, well, there's still tar on Earth.
That's what's going to happen in Instrumentality, though. That's for sure. The Black Goo meets the Red Goo there, doesn't it?
So it's pretty interesting going through this now because of what's on TV recently, namely Pluribus. You can't really separate those two things.
Bring it up a bit, because I only watched like the first Pluribus, and it's one of those things where I thought it was okay, and I just didn't continue. Like you and I were like maybe, and just to let people know, Mark and I podcast a whole lot about movies, Twilight Zone, Films and Filth, Time Enough podcast. That's my plug. But yeah, we were thinking about Pluribus, but we kind of we didn't get the hook in to talk about it, I guess.
Well, maybe it's better that you watch this first and then you see Pluribus, because otherwise the frame of for me, the frame of reference was Pluribus and a few other movies and concepts. But now when you see Pluribus, it'll remind you of Neon Genesis Evangelion, at least the movie.
Well, yes, Pluribus is made by Vince Gilligan, who, you know, as is most of his work that's well known, like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, he tries to separate himself from judging any of the characters as much as humanly possible, to the point where there are people who unironically think that Walter White is a super good guy, and they're just allowed to believe that because the show doesn't. It forces you to make your own decision about it, which Pluribus does as well. Bad. At no point so far has Pluribus absolutely come down on Hive Mind is evil or good. Well, maybe a couple of parts would make you think about it, but it's very like End of Contact. Like you have to make your own decision. Like is this good? Is this bad? I think Ava tries to do this, but I don't. I think it kind of messes up every single time at being neutral. And I don't even think that that's necessarily weakness. I don't think that you're supposed to necessarily like instrumentality is just something that happens. It's sort of like the creation of the internet. Like it just happened. It's pretty easy to say the internet ruined everything.
Well, the Vince Gilligan analogy, I think, is actually a perfect one, because here you've got, and by the way, I do respect the approach of like, I don't judge my characters. I just judge my viewers on how they judge my characters. What a fun troll that would be. But also look at how both of those properties came to being, right? Pluribus, Vince Gilligan literally created an entire neighborhood and like pre-planned everything out and had like knew what the story was going to kind of do because of it, the way that TV is put together and how Vince Gilligan works, right? But then if you look at how Neon Genesis Evangelion comes together, it's almost like someone stole a car and they're just driving it around in a city they've never been to before, and they've run out of gas like 3 miles ago. That's kind of the feeling, even though they're both doing the same things, you know what I mean? But like one is very meticulously pre-planned, had budget, things work as they're supposed to, and this one we're totally flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, take care of yourself. It's like I think I mentioned it a little bit in the movie, or maybe the last episode, but it makes me think of Don Hertzfeld's Rejected, where as he goes nuts, it just becomes crazy squiggles. And take care of yourself. I like the episode, but it does become like, I feel like I'm watching everything literally like, oh, they can only afford Coptic color pens now. Oh, they ran out of money for that. Now it's just pencil sketches. and then just black and white photos.
And then in the middle of it, there's this alternate universe thing that seems like it's a pilot for a reimagining of the show that would make more money, that has all the animation in the world in it, which is until that runs out too, because that turns back into markers at the end of it.
Right. It's reality disintegrating. By the way, there is a video game based on that particular pocket. You know, you do. Okay, good.
I know.
Girlfriend of Steel 2 is the the Japanese title. I think it's Iron Maiden in English or something.
So, is this you guys' first watch through the series?
Yeah, that's because one of the reasons I drug you in here is because 30 years ago, most of my friends, including you, were watching Neon Genesis Evangelion. Sorry, we like saying all three names around here. It's fun.
Yeah, we decided that you have to say the whole thing.
Okay. Well, my first experience with Neon Genesis Evangelion was VHS tapes that were at my local fun video store, and we watched all of it. And interestingly, I mean, this was such a it was a video store that was just called Video Store. It was in Little Five Points in Atlanta, and some of the videotapes were dubbed and some of them were subtitled. So we would, my friends and I would just bring one to my house, and we just didn't know whether it was going to be one or the other when we started it up. And then we didn't know that End of Evangelion existed because I think it got a home video release in the US like in 2001, which was the year I was watching these originally. So I kind of experienced it as close to in real time as a non-super weeb was able to.
And the way that we did it, I don't know if this was your doing, Mark, but we did the series up until episode 25. Then we watched the movie, The End of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and then we watched the very last episode 26. I do think that was maybe a good way to do it.
That was Luke's idea. I'm such a nerd about behind the scenes stuff that I still kind of prefer the release order because as you may have noticed, End of Evangelion is particularly aggressive, and part of it is because of the amount of hate mail they got. Apparently the hate mail they put on screen is sort of a recreation, and none of it is the actual hate mail they got, because you notice that some of it is, looks like artists made it. So that makes sense. But there's definitely stuff that says like Hideaki Anno, kill yourself or something like that. And apparently some of the live action footage, there's a guy flipping the bird in it, which I couldn't make out. But at the time I watched it originally, it's like I remember rewatching 25 and 26 almost immediately, because there is a bunch of stuff that's, you'll notice that there are a few scenes in these episodes, and forgive me, they kind of run together in my head, even though I think I have them separate. But there's specifically a couple of extremely violent stills in them where somebody's like head was blown off, and you're just like, what happened? And you sort of find that out later. But yeah, I still think that you kind of have to watch all of it.
I think that the last couple the aired episodes, right? Ignoring the movie for a second, the last few aired episodes, they almost turn into mood boards at a certain point. Maybe I've just been to too many creative meetings where like I can see what's happening on the screen. Like I can see the limitations that they were under, but it's also like, okay, these are the animatics. Oh, there's just like a shot list, I guess, in Japanese at one point. But I got what they were trying to do, and I saw the ambition in that approach. So I don't know if I needed it to, they couldn't have done that for the first 20 episodes by any stretch, but after I'm invested and I can see how much they're trying to tie up. And truly, when we ended up watching the movie, I felt like the American in me needed them to spell out some of the things that the movie spelled out, So then everything, well, okay, maybe 10% or 20% of what came out in episode 25, I understood. And maybe like 10% of what came out in 26, I understood. I was at like a 0 without the movie.
I think that all of it kind of explains, because the pacing of 25 and 26 are kind of the characters talk, and then there's, I guess, not a narration, but like a big wall of text that comes up. But it's like the narrator talks, the characters talk. So it's kind of it's like you get a bunch of exposition at the end, which is kind of good. It's better than, because the series, as you know, throws you into it at the beginning, like very much. Like it's in fact, I think what the third episode is a flashback to what happens in the first episode, basically, or was it the fourth episode?
They like reusing content, yeah, just as much as Disney, for sure.
Well, it was like there was a big fight scene that happened in basically Shinji's first encounter that you didn't actually get to watch until like the second or third episode, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he wakes up in the hospital room.
Yeah. So it's like they
ceilings.
Yeah, they go ahead and tell you that it's going to be like a weird nonlinear story, but I definitely, so much of this episode and the last one are kind of almost like a stage play that you would barely tolerate. If Shinji was your kid and you went to their school to see the stage play and it was this, you would be like, but that makes sense because it's all happening inside Shinji's head. And this is probably what the inside of Shinji's head is. You have to assume that other people going through instrumentality are like, everyone they love shows up and they just hug and they're like, we're good, right? Okay, later.
Like Gendo's getting reunited with his wife, right? So he gets a happy ending maybe in instrumentality, where Shinji is so full of self-loathing, which is what this episode is all about. What is it called in Maoist China, where they stick someone in the middle of the circle and tell them everything wrong with them?
Struggle session? Oh no, that was
is that like troubled teen industry or like the Elon school or something?
Yeah.
No, there's a specific one that they had. Someone out there remembers the name, but yeah, it's just like you get someone and they literally sit in the middle and everyone else tells them like things they've done wrong, and
yeah.
And it has some ironic name, of course, because it's the communist China. So
yeah. Well, yeah, it's impossible. I don't think that Anno necessarily wanted Shinji to be the self-insert, but he definitely is. And this is definitely, the whole series is about depression, even though from the reading I did recently, it's like the reason the series took the turn that it did was he started reading about psychology and became interested in it. So I think if a person who's very prone to depressive episodes starts reading about psychology, then this is what happens.
So Shinji's the otaku in himself that he hates.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Gendo is also kind of what a Shinji would. It's like how a depressed person would write a dad, because I don't know about you guys. Everyone I've met who's as powerful as him, I've never met anyone that powerful who would end the world to be with their wife again. That strikes me as completely kind of.
I don't think
absurd.
I haven't met many powerful people though.
Well, deep down, he's really a family guy at heart. You can tell.
Which is wildly I guess it is an anime, so whatever. I can't go. It's wildly unreal. It's also wildly unrealistic that everyone's in love with Shinji and or Gendo, one of those two,
or the angels are eating each other.
Yeah,
we are missing a bit of that in episode 26. I was thinking maybe 25 does this as well, but I noticed, because I watched 26 again just before this and was listening more, since the visuals are just mostly stills. I was listening more to the soundscape, and I feel like a lot of the soundtrack on this episode does like a lot of heavy lifting. It starts off with that weird ethereal stuff, and then it kind of comes together for a while. We get the happy time interlude that breaks down back into the weird ethereal music, and then there's like a big fanfare to congratulate you for watching this series at the end.
Congratulations to all the
you
children
for watching it. Omedetou gozaimasu.
I will say for certain that soundtrack is burned into my head forever. the weird drone dissonant stuff.
That's just what plays in your head now?
No, I mean I know exactly how it sounds and could I don't want to say I could play it on an
From this
organ.
episode in particular?
Yes.
It was in the
is-
last one as well. So
Yeah, both of these episodes, it's almost like they go together. Like End of Evangelion is, I don't know if you guys looked this up, but End of Evangelion was sort of released as two things.
Well, when you watch it, it's got the cards to tell you this is episode 25, this is episode 26. It's directly in the movie. So
they're different versions. Just episode 25 was called Air when I watched it the first time. I mean, the episode 25, that's the End of Evangelion, which I've always been fascinated by that, because for an episode of this series to be called Air is like really frightening, because almost all the episode titles are like,
well, it's playing Box Air.
What?
That's the music again.
Oh, I was just thinking more like Asuka's corpse being like torn apart by birds.
Well, hey, if you want to double entendre it, you can, but
okay.
I guess that's the thing. You have to watch End of Evangelion. I can't say it now. Anyway, you got to watch the movie to realize that basically who's living and who's dead in instrumentality. Masato's dead. She's shot. Is this a reflection of Shinji's? Well, no, she says it. She says this is a reflection of what you think of me, doesn't she?
She's not. No, she's not shot. She's the teacher now.
She's in. No, we've established the instrumentality means that everybody who's ever lived, that means that a cave person who died 20 billion years ago will suddenly be awakened and have to have someone go, unga bunga, you are part of everyone now. And they'll have to learn how to use a cell phone and go to high school. In their head, I guess. I don't know. This is ridiculous.
Well, but if you compare that to Pluribus, though, here's where Pluribus makes it make sense, where it's not that the caveman has to understand anything. It's that now the collective has a little bit more caveman. It's now like 0.01% more caveman than it was before that dude woke up. And then that just keeps adding until the point where everyone that you talk to is everybody, so that you don't really talk to Shinji. Like, you could be talking to Asuka and you're talking to Asuka and Shinji, or you could talk to Shinji and you're talking to both of them too. Like, you can't get away from the entire world no matter who you're talking to. And I wonder how much of that is what was in the original vision for this, or is that if you go and talk to a Shinji, you're talking to Shinji plus everyone else is sort of in the room, versus you're talking to all of them at once.
Well, I think that this series wisely does not show us, because what we're seeing is him accepting instrumentality. We have to assume that instrumentality doesn't actually begin until after this. The writing here is not, I don't know, the writing on Pluribus attempts to, but the other thing about the writing on Pluribus is that the characters are always hiding something from you. Like the hive mind is hiding things from us, the viewer, which it has to, because it's impossible to write that for the most part. It's like very difficult to write the character who knows every other character, because it's difficult, because we can't understand that as people. We can't possibly. But yeah, so this version, unlike Pluribus, this includes dead people, because Gendo wants to be with Yui. So she's also.
I just wonder if Gendo
there.
doesn't, if they're all fooling themselves, because once we're in this interview session, there are some of them are distinctly saying, I'm not Masato. I'm a reflection of what you think of Masato, right? So is Masato's soul just somewhere else having the same experience? I kind of wonder if it is. Yeah, not everyone in there.
I'm sorry, that was the difference between episode 25 and 26, is they stopped using that language in episode 26. Remember, 26 begins with a little place card that says, it's impossible to have time to do all of this, so we're only going to show you the instrumentalification of this one guy.
So subtitle, we ran out of money.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't do that anyway. Like, you would have to make an entire other series if everybody goes through instrumentality, and it would be pretty boring, honestly.
Oh yeah. Well, the last episode, yeah, we have the interviews like of our 3 or 4 main characters, right?
Yeah, but it's,
who's conducting the interviews?
Presumably, part of instrumentality is that people start entering your head and talking to you, and and then they all clap, and then you're a pile of red goo.
And the way that I interpret this, again, first watch through, I'm still making sense of it, but the instrumentality seems like it would be almost impossible to separate from the world just ended, or everyone just became one, and that there's no more physical material, anything left, and it's all just sort of like an amorphous spirit energy that's being experienced and trying to like collapse in on itself. I get the exact opposite impression in Pluribus, for example. It's a very material, physical world. Everyone's still alive. This one, it feels like the world's already gone, and I think part of that's just because we saw for the first 20 plus episodes just cities being wiped off the map and just angels destroying buildings, and just everyone just constantly is dying and getting hurt. So it makes more sense that everyone's dead now. And you could almost explain to me that everything that happened in the movie, 25, 26 in the movie, all is happening within like the 3-second moment that the bomb goes off and everyone dies. And we're just seeing like a very stretched out version, because like all the things that happen in this last episode 26, where it's Shinji going through an identity crisis. He goes from, I can disappear because I'm unworthy of existing, and oh, woe is me. And most people are showing up and they're just being like, Shinji, we don't even care about you enough to hate you. Like, you think the world hates you. You're just some dude. Like, no one really cares. And then he's like, oh my God, I guess that is good. Okay, my life is worth living. And coincidentally, that came after Asuka becomes his girlfriend in this like alternate version of his mind. But all of that could have happened in the 3 seconds it takes for the bomb to like enter your vicinity and then suck out of the air out of the room, and then you're dead.
So
yeah,
the ordering I have, and obviously not the way I do think you need to take the last scene. I kind of like Luke's suggestion of 25 movie, 26, but then the last scene of the movie.
Well, the last scene of the movie does change things, and
because that shows Shinji is back into living in a weird hellhole now. Is that a happy ending because he's his own person?
I think it is.
Then he tries to strangle Asuka for a minute, but
yeah, well, it's a happy ending because you don't want Shinji in your Pluribus. Like, if I'm gonna be in the Pluribus, I don't want Shinji to be part of it.
Well, yeah, he's Carol from Pluribus now, and so is Asuka. And Asuka is the guy from South America. No, I think it's from Central America. Anyway, what I was gonna say is that the thing about the end of the series is this is depression, right? What you want is I want everyone to be close to me. I don't want to have to eat. I don't want to have to do anything. I don't want to have to pilot the Ava. I don't want to have, it's almost like the ultimate like depression fantasy to become a puddle of goo with everyone else. Like, everyone has to be around you. You have sucked. It's like what is it? Squid people. Well, the idea that people who have no spine come to you with their tentacles, and they use their tentacles to suck all of your life force out so they could like walk around using your spine. It's like, basically, this is the ultimate version of that, is that
and Shinji's an energy vampire, essentially.
Yes, he's an energy vampire, and then the end of the movie sort of retcons it slightly, where he, after all that, decides, actually, no, I don't want this. I want to strangle Asuka on a beach. No, I mean,
there is the thought that what happens in this episode is basically so, mind bending and disturbing that he's like trying to check if that's actually a person. Well, again, I mean, strangling's a weird way to do it, but
but the other
and she responds and he stops, right?
Yeah. Well, the other part of the movie is that he's completely freaking out for a lot of it because there's a giant ray who loves him unconditionally and is mutating a bunch of heads and is doing a bunch of weird stuff.
Bodies are exploding.
You could also look at that as sort of an extrovert introvert thing. Like, no, I don't want this. I don't want this person who really wants to be around me. But realistically, like, Asuka is kind of the perfect person for Shinji because she is the kind of person who will make him do things and will not give up on him because she's angry.
Let me just to put it in a polite way, if Shinji and Asuka get married, Shinji's not dying of old age. Shinji's leaving the Earth early at some point. You can just see that he would be beaten down so quickly that she would be. I think him strangling her, it almost feels like self-defense. Like it's going down this route of maybe they will grow old and die together, but like he knows that she'll kill him at some point, or she'll make him want to die. So then he's taking her out first. Like it makes sense.
Become truly depressed.
I think what realistically would happen is because her mother hung herself, he'll just keep threatening to kill himself, and she'll eventually just get tired of him and then run away and then call him on the phone and be like, "Go ahead and do it." And he'll like think about doing it, but then he just won't.
Except the phones are all melted now.
He'll get really overweight and then have a gambling problem, and then he'll get like 3 penguins to move in.
Shinji being overweight with a gambling problem, he's immediately more interesting. Like just by those two facets that normally would ruin a character, those things would help him so much.
Well, the basically, are you guys open to any rebuild spoilers at all?
Yeah, you can toss. Well, okay. Anyone that cares, hit the 30 ahead, but we go for it. Give it to us.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it like kind of vague.
Wait, what is rebuild? You have to explain this to me. I haven't read ahead at all.
It's a series of movies that were also a train wreck, but basically they were announced in 2005.
Oh
no, the first one came out in 2007. So, and the last one came out, I believe, 2023. Whatever it was, the development cycle for them was the same length as from the beginning of the series to the first movie coming out. So basically, it was supposed to come out 2007, then 2009, then like the 3 and 4 were supposed to come out in 2010 or 2011. So it just, what happened was the first movie was kind of a recap of the first third of the series, I think. And then the second movie, at the end of it, it gets it takes a swerve. And then the third movie there's a time jump and everything's completely different. And it's very hated. People don't like it.
Compared to how much people loved the original TV show airing ending?
Absolutely, it is less well liked, and
you got more hate mail for that.
It's more boring than that, even though it's a film. And then basically what happens is there's an inserted character who is basically a self-insert for Anno's real life wife, and at the end of the entire series, Shinji ends up with her. Which people do not like that either, because she's basically kind of an energetic, fun character with no baggage.
Okay, well, pilots shouldn't date other pilots anyway. That's just bad news.
I understand that in real life, you need a partner that doesn't have that is functional and you can work with and live with, but that's not always the best thing for a drama. Anyway.
Who gets stuck with Shinji though? It almost feels like he should be alone. He should disappear and be unworthy of existing, because ultimately he gets it by the very last episode. Yep. It's almost like he's been thinking what we've been thinking. He's thinking like, the only reason I have any value is because I'm in this suit and I'm doing these things. And even deep down, maybe he realizes it, maybe not, but that he's not even really doing anything. The suit's doing all the stuff. It's Ava's doing everything for him, and he's kind of taking all this credit. And then he finds out that it's his mom. So his mom's been doing all the cool stuff for him. She's the only thing that's been giving him a backbone and a reason to live. And it kind of makes him feel even like less value, right? Because not only has he been putting on this charade, but like his mom's been behind the whole thing.
It's funny because it really is kind of like, There's a lot of reflection in episode 26 about how piloting the Ava is the only thing that makes him interesting or whatever. And really it's like finding out, it's like you're getting driven to the dance and then you find out it was your mom doing it the whole time. You know, like it's like imagine just, I don't know, thinking you're really cool and then finding out your mom's been paying for it the whole time, whatever it is. whatever it is.
I mean, I guess this is like a mental not break, but a mental breakthrough that people do need to make in adolescence, lest they become, arrested development sort of people, right? Like you do have to get to that point where, I mean, he breaks down his ego. We have reality construction. There's like the monad. There's nothing there. Okay, let's add a dimension. Here's a line. Now you can walk around. That's, very much like mystery school reality construction stuff. You can be a squid if you want.
But isn't that kind of the story of the whole series? It's someone making an idea from scratch and they're massively depressed, so the whole thing is mismanaged and it just kind of goes to hell at the end. And it really is kind of, I don't know, chaos magic.
Once we start building the monad, though, we kind of get past, Shinji stops saying like, I hate myself quite as much, and then we have congratulations. Like the key does turn when we have a scratch.
So this is where I was paying the most attention on, like the transition, because it's all about I'm worthless and everyone hates me, and I always make this note of just like, Shinji, it's even worse than everyone hates you. It's it's the Don Draper meme. Like, I don't even think about you. Like, you're over here like giving yourself a pity party, and it's just like, oh yeah, that Shinji guy, he still exists. And let me just say objectively, I think he is right. If you're talking about this like post-apocalyptic future where angels are coming down, if Shinji, after everything we know about him, he has literally no value to the world unless he is in this Eva, right? If he's not in this Eva, he's doing nothing aside from like jerking off on girls in hospital beds. Like that's probably like the only thing that he really did in this entire series with his own agency. But he goes from this like horrible, oh woe is me, everyone hates me, and then it turns into a Bob Newhart style ending a little bit, like halfway through, where he kind of wakes up and it's Asuka, and she's like making a joke about him having morning wood, and then Ray turns into a Southern bumpkin. It turns into like a sitcom where someone gets hit in the head, right? They get kicked in the head by a horse, and everything changes for a little bit. And then at the end, it just turns into him on top of the world and the entire like ensemble cast. Like the whole Simpsons intro comes out, and they kind of congratulate him and clap, and then they turn and look at you and they clap at you, and they're like, congratulations to all the children.
But as the floor turns into the world, it is a destroyed world. So this is the choice, the happy time, high school anime, which they intentionally were trying to stuff every cliche they could into that sequence.
I appreciate it. It didn't like, it felt like that was self-aware the way they did it. But also, I did not feel like this was a happy ending. It didn't feel happy by any stretch of the imagination. It felt like Shinji did something horrible.
No, if we take it like it's if we take it a few years later, it's Matrix choice. You want to live on Zion, or do you want to live in eat your steak in the Matrix? Shinji has chosen Zion, it seems.
Well, it's the, like I said, it's the depression ending, where it's just, yeah, I want to be a pile of goo. I don't want to have to think about anything, and also, I know Anno wasn't thinking about this, but he had a major depression episode before making this, and what he thought to himself going into this is he's going to make something about not running away, and that's why Shinji keeps saying I mustn't run away constantly, all the time. That's his catchphrase for like the first half of the series, basically. And one of the next major depressive episodes he had was after making the third Rebuild movie, and after that he went and made Shin Godzilla, which is he credits with revitalizing him. Even though it sounds like he didn't really get along with Toho that well either. But
for a guy with a lot of depression, he has a lot of output though. When Tokomori, which is a person who is a forest, that's the Japanese term for people that just don't leave their room. I mean, that's a deeper depression. Anno's making series and
because this
movies.
This series is him exercising those demons, I think. Like this he would be Shinji if it weren't for him working on this series and inserting himself into it. That's like the only way that he's not becoming Shinji is by doing this.
I think it's kind of both. Like it's survivorship bias. Like everybody likes 80s music because you've only heard the 80s music that actually stuck around. Because I was alive in the 80s. A lot of music sucked in the 80s. You don't hear it anymore. But I think it's like there are plenty of people who have major depressive stuff. He just also has the thing where he just has to work on things and is very good at it. Because I know he like assisted Miyazaki on something like in the last 10 years.
Oh, and there
Was
were
it
little
Wind
bits that
Rises?
were there was
Yeah.
a bit or two of Evo that actually Ghibli animated just as a favor or something, I guess, or just for funsies.
Well,
You know
I
what-
think it
what
was
though,
for
like-
money.
But what does Shinji do? Shinji doesn't work on anything. Shinji doesn't have any hobbies or interests or anything. It didn't like.
pilots an Ava.
and I feel like I'm not being overly hard on him. I feel like legitimately, and it's interesting because this is one of the few series / movies that I do feel is cohesive relatively. And it also is a good example of something that I was willing to watch and enjoyed that doesn't really have a traditional character arc. Like the protagonist doesn't ascend. In my opinion, the protagonist does not go through any major transformation. Like everything that he needs to go through to have a transformation happens to him. Like all the coolest, horrible, great things happen to him. But even at the end of it, he's really no different than at the very beginning. I don't see any sort of character build. And I'm not saying that in that like it's a loss in the series or anything. Like it's not a point being taken away from it. It's just interesting that here's a protagonist that went through all the motions and still is the same person at the end.
It's almost like that also really carries over to the rebuilds, where it really is a lot of people talking to Shinji, and that definitely is a thread in episode 26. It's like people talking to Shinji. You don't really see a whole lot of the other characters interacting with each other, saying, "Oh, you get more of that in the movie, obviously." But
I would.
Well, yeah, this whole episode's a weird inner world, you know.
We're so close to the edge of AI where we can just like make our own Neon Genesis Evangelion episodes, maybe in like the next 4 or 5 years or something. And I really do feel that like a cooler version of Shinji, like the same vibe, the same like bland, boring aspect, but with some personality. Doug, you put Doug instead of Shinji, and I feel like this series could be completely rebooted in such an interesting, like juxtaposed way.
Well, Otto said something recent. Well, not recently. The last several years, where at some point he was trying to set the rebuilds up to open up Evangelion so it could be like the new Gundam, which is, you guys know, Gundam has many series. But I think he changed his mind on that. But there's something announced for the 40th, 30th anniversary of the series, and nobody knows what it is yet, even though I think it might just be like a theatrical play or something, right?
I like the premise and I get the analogy, but it's like Gundam is cool because everyone gets a robot suit, but Evangelion, it's like, yeah, but your robot suit's your mom. You have to like go around and like ride inside your mom. It has like a little bit less of the marketing edge.
I think actually that's a great marketing edge. Like if they just led with that, then maybe well,
it's for
I
the
don't think it needs to
family.
be more successful. Yeah.
Well, I did just go to 7-Eleven a few nights ago, and the Eva, lottery ticket things back. You can get a ticket, and maybe you get stickers. The last one is a crucified Unit 1 with like lightning and crap behind it.
Yay. So where did you guys land on the Christianity stuff? Because I do feel like it was just sort of they've all really said that we just used imagery that we thought looked cool. I think that some of it was probably absorbed through osmosis, because there is kind of a fire and brimstone aspect to the movie stuff where people kind of just explode when they, or whatever, Gendo gets eaten by the Ava because he's bad.
I'd say like if we had to give it like a rating, I'd give it like a solid 4, maybe 4.5 on how well they implemented actual occultism and Kabbalah. And I think that they probably earned 3.5 of those points in the last 5 episodes, where they actually show the angels all arranging themselves into the Sephiroth, and then like they sort of combine and turn into this one big thing. And it really did tie the analogy. It almost felt like maybe in the 11th hour, they went out and hired an actual occultist, and there were like fix some of this for us, tie up some of these ends. And they were like, you just go bing bong bong, you do a little Sephiroth, angels explode, you show a big egg, and I think you'll be good. And they were good. But I think like for the first 15 or so episodes, every time they would bring up an angel name or they would make some reference to like the Kabbalah, Matt and I were kind of like, are they just phoning it in? Because the very first 2 episodes, I watched like 3 or 4 versions of them, and one of them had the VO for the VO guy, like the actual one of the directors, I think, on the US version of like the English direction, and he was also making those claims that they just kind of threw in some of this occult stuff, figured it would make it more interesting. A lot of this was sort of just tacked on towards the end, but I definitely came around closer to like midpoint to the end of the show. But again, only earning maybe like a 4.5 at the most.
Yeah, it's sort of like how Castlevania handles vampires, where it's really just, it is an anime plot. I mean, it is subversive. Like it gets subversive points. Like you definitely don't think that it's just going to get sadder and sadder and then the world ends, which is like not an arc that many things did at that point. I think it's more common now, but and the fact that it's like the robots are your mom and everything's like sad and painful.
I think there is silver lining here because we're getting the sad version of the world ending because we have to watch it over Shinji's shoulder for the most part, because he's kind of like the vehicle, the protagonist of this. But I think there's like a silver lining version of it through Shinji's dad or even through like Seal, because they describe, maybe I'm just getting sold on the poison here, but it seems like they're describing this, that everyone has to die because we can't evolve to the next step in our current physical human forms and all the limitations. So you basically kill everyone, you take all their atoms and energy or whatever, and you shove it into this big like egg sac vessel, and then that thing gives birth to whatever we're supposed to be next. So that could be the silver lining, is that the world has to end in order for the new next step in evolution to begin. But again, maybe that's just like, here, kid, take one of these, you'll love it.
Well, instrumentality isn't clearly explained at any point. And apparently there were many different drafts of what that would be. And I think without many spoilers, it seems like it's sort of changed again in the rebuilds.
Yeah, I don't think you can explain too much, right? The more you explain of instrumentality, the more it has holes in it.
Did you guys read anything about the option? Because Anno did Air had a script, but like episode 26 or the end of Evangelion was basically written after everything else. Did you guys read in some of the about some of the potential ideas?
Yeah, I had the
werewolf one. Yeah, I found that out yesterday and was very amused by it.
Yeah, that was spoken of in our last episode or the one before it. So
I feel like there was
been a sterilized stronghold surrounded by wolfmen.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be a literal dartboard somewhere with ideas and just darts on a wall all over the place.
Werewolf.
Yeah, it's like that's one of those things. Like I want to see that, but that would have been horrible. Like people would have been making fun of that forever. Like we would be laughing about it now.
Yeah, it's good to go out a little bit more abstract,
Well, just it does line up. Like I don't think it's like 100% perfect, but you're getting the inside of somebody turned into goo, and then you get the outside just watching people explode into goo. So it's like it does.
I mean, it's not Shinji's first time. He already turned into goo. Around episode 19? He was stuck in the Ava for a month. Yeah, so it's not his first goo experience.
Yeah,
this one made me reflect a little bit too. The end of this series, and this is a little bit of a stretch, but I feel like there were some times, maybe in like my senior year in high school, that I turned in some finals that probably should have like not let me graduate. But the teacher was like, I know what you're capable of, and I can see the potential in what you did. And I'm shocked you even were able to turn this in, let alone. So it's like, I'm going to pass you because you deserve to like graduate, not because you actually submitted something that like earned you a way to get out of here. And I feel the same way about this series. It's almost like at the very end, like this series deserves to end and deserves to graduate. It deserves for me to kind of understand what was going on, but I'm giving it so much leeway just because, again, I see the potential and I see the ambition and I respect that more than if they had pumped, $8 million, or hell, let's talk about like a Disney release where they pump like $120 million and just make like a horrific set of CGI dwarves or something, right? Like I would prefer to just see animatics and see the ambition behind it.
Yeah, it's interesting and unique, and if it doesn't 100% work, it's like, we're human, but part of being a human being is you can see the marker drawings and like your brain can bridge the gap, whereas if it's like sloppy CGI flying all over the place and it just explosions and the good guy isn't going to die, then your brain goes to sleep because you're being fed nothing. It's
I've got 2 notes left. One, my cello lessons did work out. I have orchestra practice on Sunday. Also, just one thing, bridging the gap, kind of like you were just saying. All the sound effects during the weird ethereal music is just like all very attuned to all of Japan. Like every Japanese person hears all of those sounds every day. So I did find that that's one thing where the Japanese audience would be grounded a little bit more during that stuff than American audiences.
What if I've watched so much anime that I'm familiar with all the sounds?
Well, you've also been in Japan a few times, but
that too.
But there is something to just like, I'm going to hear all of those sounds on my way to work after I leave my room today,
Mm-hmm.
So there is a difference between seeing a lot of anime and it's just like, that's the world around you all the time. So that grounds the episode, I think, a little bit more. That's why I think the soundscape and soundtrack to this one's so important and making it work, even though we de-evolve into pencil sketches.
So, and speaking of the de-evolution towards the end there's only one thing that personally I wasn't a huge fan of, and that was the live action footage, photos and stuff. Like if I were to go back and imagine, okay, I'm watching this in the late 90s, there definitely was an aesthetic of let's show some black and white footage. It'll be this cool juxtaposition. But watching it now in 2026 and seeing it, I just felt like I rather would have seen more animatic static drawings than any of like the live action stuff.
I think that might be a little more of a grounding for the Japanese audience, because I am going to see images that look like most of those pictures in the next 12 hours,
There's also a style thing. I think anime would do that a little bit more than American animation would.
That said, I did prefer the color live action Matsumoto footage in the movie better.
But also the fact that you don't get any of that until the last 2 episodes. Like if they had sprinkled it in here and there throughout the rest of the series, then maybe it would have, I guess, like folded in a little bit easier. But this way, like for example, there was an earlier episode where Matt, like the special terminology, but like all of a sudden it was like a commercial and you would see like word bubbles and like crazy like glitter effects when someone said something. Like they kind of like went all out on this like funny campy effect, and that worked even though they only did it like that one time. But here it's such a jarring different effect that it took me out of it. Again, maybe Matt's watching, he's like, oh yeah, that grounded me again. I'm watching, I was like, I feel like I just saw like a cutscene on like a PlayStation 1 game.
The thing that definitely took me out of it the most was the production IG logo at the beginning of End of Evangelion. It was like some cartoon dinosaur or something that looked terrible because they were like starting to move to CG at that point. In CG in 1997.
Yeah.
It's just not good. But yeah, there's also the interesting, there's some of that experimental footage and stuff. I'm sure you guys talked about it already in the movie, where you get something like all of the drawing, like the entirety of the animation from episode 26 might flash in front of your eyes in like 2 seconds in the movie. Like it's kind of it is like a stark reminder of that you have to manage your series. Like I blame capitalism for plenty of things, but like you do have to like manage your budget and your team. And they ran out of money.
That was a failure.
Well, that studio was also mismanaged. I think
I'm sure people hate animating the show by the end.
Gainax, I believe, just went out of business like this year.
Huh. Happy 30th.
But I mean, everything Evangelion related was pulled out of Gainax's control by like 10 or 15 years ago because they mismanaged everything. So defunct December 11th, 2025.
Oh, okay.
Happy month anniversary of them being gone.
I guess we'll drive this one to a close unless someone's got another big thought they want to throw on this. Those are my last two notes.
I just want to say that I agree with Shinji that he can disappear because he's unworthy of existing. And I'm kind of sad to hear that they bring him back in the rebuild. If I was rebuilding this, Shinji would not be part of it. I get he's like the self-insert of the creator. He still needs to go.
Well, he gets his wife in too.
I mean, what if more spoilers, skip ahead again? What if Gendo like gained a bunch of powers and became cartoonishly evil and opened a portal to hell? Would you like it better then? Would you like Shinji better if you had to fight that? I don't like the rebuilds. I'm just gonna come down on that. I do not like them. The art style is much more boring, even though it's much fancier, and you get a bunch of more exploding mechs and tanks and stuff. But it's like,
well, the review I got from Maddie, a friend here in Japan, was, you know how there's like a 3-minute battle in the series? Now they're like 30 minutes. I was like, I don't know if that sounds good.
I don't like them. I'd rather just rewatch the original series, including episodes 25 and 26. Hey, I mean, when I watched them the first time, just like now, it's like, this is a weird swing and they're just going to do it and you're going to go along with it. And I'm happy to indulge weird self-indulgent crap if it's just interesting.
But if episodes 25 and 26 were really episodes 1 and 2, would you have made it to episode 20?
Absolutely not. This is I am the kind of person where like so
there's like a sunk cost fallacy like in the end of Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Like basically, you're familiar with Death Note?
Somewhat.
Well, yeah, Death Note, season 2 of Death Note had this insane opening with just a bunch of like screaming nu metal in it. And I saw that, I would see that show up on like Adult Swim and it'd be like, oh man. And then I watched an episode of it and it's just like a guy in the library studying for 30 minutes. So I never watched any of the rest of the series. Apparently it is basically like a crime procedural detective thing.
Well, yeah,
but
if you did episode 4 of Evangelion, it's going to be Shinji waiting 30 minutes of Shinji waiting for a train, so
yeah, but yeah, this series,
and just to point out the Vince Gilligan, what was the Fly episode of Breaking Bad, right? I feel like that's another good example of like, if that was the only episode you ever saw, you'd be like, this is that show that everyone's going crazy about.
Yeah, but that's why it has to be episode 4 of season 3 or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad this is still one of my favorite series. I don't think I really said that out loud, but
it's one of those things where the flaws do make it more charming.
I just randomly, the algorithm now knows to like feed me Evangelion stuff. So I like see articles and stuff coming up. And there was one that was interesting. They were talking about the episode. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was when Shinji and Asuka are learning to be in sync with each other. And they're like playing games and they tie each other. And there was this like long thread of all these people like, this is my top 5 anime episodes ever across all different and not just Evangelion but all animes, and I was thinking like that was a badass episode. I don't know if it was to the point of like my favorite anime scene ever, but I don't know, now thinking about it, like that was a really solid episode. Like I wish there was more of that.
That one did have a character arc. You see the montage of them learning something.
Yeah. He grows, but he kind of loses all of that within like the next episode.
But hey, that's depression for you. It's that basically, no matter what you go through, you're probably going to have another depressive episode where you won't pilot the Ava and someone will like slap you and then what
it is that he slips into depression when there's not someone else around him to like snap him out of it or to like stop, shut up, stop sulking around, get in the freaking Ava and go and kill that damn angel. Like that, he needs someone to do that. And when people have their own things going on because angels are eating each other out there, then he kind of goes into this ball of like, oh, everyone hates me? Why is everyone neglecting me? It's like, bro, look around. Like the city just exploded, and you're sitting here like, how come no one's helping guide me?
Well, it's like the one of the underlying themes of the series is you do need people, even if you think they hate you, you really do need them. So you should all become a pile of red goo, and then you won't need people anymore because they'll always be around you, soaking you up all the time. And you don't have
the CEO.
And actually, you shouldn't become a pile of red goo. I'm anti-instrumentality. I'm gonna come down on the anti.
Oh, don't knock it till you've tried it.
Well, how do you untry it? I guess you can get out of the goo if you're Shinji.
It's also not a thing I believe that you get to vote on.
No. Also, that is like one of the most unrealistic sci-fi concepts. Like even the pluribus thing is much more realistic because there's like no dead people involved, and they have to eat and stuff, and they die sometimes. So like that is much. That's also like it's not just magical. Like this is literally magical goo. But I don't know. Maybe the goo does have to eat. Maybe it like just eats plankton for 1,000 years.
Well, it eats angels.
Maybe it eats bunny rabbits. Like it just like goes around eating trees and stuff. It just eats like everything that's not an animal.
Not gory enough. Angels.
All right. Well, yeah, more angels just keep coming, and the red goo just keeps fighting them.
Yeah,
that could be a series, actually.
Very abstract one, especially if we get the nice abstract angels from the later episodes.
Yeah, angels are great. Also, we haven't talked about Kaoru a lot. I don't think he came up in this episode 26.
He's not in this episode.
He also strikes me as like, well, aside from the obvious permission to be gay thing, he's also kind of like the perfect person for an introvert to like be with alone. Like he's sort of like, I'm going to comfort you no matter what you're going through. And it's like you could see the two of them together, and then 10 years forward they're both just inside all the time, and they're living in a filthy apartment.
He gives me the worst human trafficker vibes out of any.
Oh no.
He seems like such a red flag.
Hey,
he's like,
me, I got a special island where we can have a great time.
Pretty much.
Yeah. there are a few people I've met who are serial monogamists, but they absolutely also have to have an open relationship. And I don't know how to explain this, but Kaoru kind of has those vibes too. Like he'd be like, "No, I love you. I'll provide every need for you. I met this guy. I'm gonna bring him home. Is that okay? Because if you really love me, I can bring this other guy.
I feel like he's just out in public, just doing poppers at completely like inopportune times. Like why are you doing popper right now? We're in the movie.
I love you. Just do some more poppers. Anyway, well, so yeah, it's just go hug somebody, don't merge with them.
Okay, that's your final takeaway.
Yep.
I guess, Mark, I'll go in the short plug mode, but I guess yours goes with mine. Time Enough Podcast, Podcast 1999, Films and Filth. Mark and I blither, blather, and jibber jabber quite a bit. So.
And I'll do another podcast plug too. I do reviews of old conspiracy documentaries from the 80s and 90s called Under the Docks. So we're going back to our roots. We were watching some old Michael Sarion. We're going to get some David Icke up in there. We're going to do some Jordan Maxwell. Might even find some old like William Cooper talks and find out a way to turn like Mystery Babylon series into a podcast about one of the OG podcasts. But if any of that sounds interesting, or even just normie documentaries, check out the Under the Docks podcast. And hey, if you're subscribed to the Paranoid American podcast, it just shows up in your feed automatically like magic.
All right. I guess it's time to merge into some red goo.
Ready, I said I don't want to do it. I'm just going to strangle you on the beach, if that's okay.
Just buy something. Just buy something. From Paranoid American. Just buy something. Just buy something. From Paranoid American. Nod your head, give consent. Buy a comic, 3 or 4. Think this thought, I want more. Buy a sticker from the store. Think this thought, I want more. Just buy something. Just buy something from Paranoid American. Just buy something. Just buy something from Paranoid American.
Paranoid. Yo. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hey, maybe your language, the game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out, nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Man, it's not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.